If a technology existed that could break our dependence on fuel and control, would you ever be allowed to see it? There's a line in science you're not allowed to cross. Most people never see it. Most researchers never get near it. But every so often, someone does. And when they do, the system springs into action, and they're taken out. You've heard the name Nikola Tesla, a man who didn't just invent, he challenged the entire structure of how energy could exist in the world. Wireless transmission, ambient power, a system where energy isn't controlled, rationed, or sold. Then, he dies under mysterious circumstances, and his work seized and locked away. That's where the story is supposed to end. But it doesn't, because every few decades, somebody else shows up, working on something just close enough to that same line. And in our generation, that someone was Amy Eskridge. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join the People's Voice Locals community to join our incredible community, support the channel, and gain access to exclusive and uncensored content. Amy Eskridge wasn't a celebrity scientist, because she was operating in a space few people can understand, and most people never even hear about. Gravity modification, advanced propulsion, the outer edges of physics. She founded her own research lab, and was trying to develop anti-gravity technology, a way to control or cancel out gravity, which could revolutionize space travel and energy production. Anti-gravity and free energy are two sides of the same coin. Control gravity, and you don't need fuel. You change how objects move through space itself. No engines, no burn, just motion. In other words, energy with almost no cost. Just like Tesla, Eskridge made a breakthrough. And she wasn't staying quiet. She was preparing to go public, as bombshell resurfaced footage proves.
I'm tired. I'm real tired. I need to disclose soon, man. I need to publish soon because it's like escalating. It's getting more and more aggressive. Like over the past, this has been going on for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And over the past 12 months, it's been like escalating, like more aggressive, more invasive, digging through my digging through my underwear drawer and sexual threats over the past like 3 to 6 months. And now I'm like, fuck, I have to publish. Fuck, I have to publish because like, it's only going to get worse until I publish. There's no way out of this. There's no way out of this fucked up situation until I publish.
She was preparing for a conference, a presentation, a collaboration tied directly or indirectly to work that originated inside NASA's sphere. In her own words, she wrote a paper. It was under peer review. They were substantiating data, and they expected it to be released within 30 days. 30 days from disclosure. That's not speculation, that was a countdown. And when it began, the threats started coming thick and fast.
There's no way out of this. There's no way out of this up situation. My ex-boyfriend and I realized that people had been breaking into our apartment. And so like, I'm in the apartment, I'm about to go to work. And I'm like, why don't you take out the trash and scope out the parking lot and make sure it's okay before I go to work? So he goes out there and he's like, there's this weird Lexus and it has tinted windows that are not street legal. He comes back in and we're standing in our bedroom window looking at the Lexus and talking about it. And I say out loud, maybe we should walk over there later and take a picture of the license plate. Within 2 minutes, an Eastern European looking mother with a black beanie dressed all in black in his 50s or 60s walked out of the apartment directly across from ours holding a license plate. And he changed the license plate right in front of our faces. And then he walked back to his apartment and he put the old license plate on the front patio and went inside, left it outside. And it was literally like, come get the license plate. I have more. After that, the Lexus started tailing me. And every time I saw the Lexus, it had a different license plate. Even my ex called an Uber once. The Lexus pulled out from the spot across the parking lot from our apartment, drove over to our apartment and said, hey, I'm your Uber here to pick you up. The license matched.
But she didn't back off. She kept pushing towards publication, closing in on what she described as exotic breakthrough technology she believed the world needed to see. And then, everything stopped. A cease and desist. The presentation was pulled. The material was locked down. The explanation? NASA intellectual property restrictions. On paper, that sounds routine, but here's what doesn't fit. If everything was normal, why was a public disclosure planned in the first place? If the process was standard, why the urgency? Why the 30-day timeline? And if the work was cleared enough to be in the home stretch, why did it vanish instead of appearing? Because it didn't come out in 30 days, it didn't come out in 60. What surfaced later, months down the line, was something far more controlled, far more technical, and according to her colleagues, far less revealing than what she wanted to give to the world. So, what happened in that window? What changed between about to go public and total silence? This is where the story goes off the rails. Eskridge spoke openly about pressure from the outside, about being targeted, about interference that most people will never experience, let alone talk about publicly. Her father, a NASA scientist, told her she was paranoid. She wasn't paranoid. We have it on tape. Two men threatening her in public, attending her conference, telling her she could be disappeared.
What about the innovator who's afraid of disappearing?
Well, that's a whole other problem. I think doing it in the public is better in that case. But that's a different.
It still doesn't mean you won't disappear. Even if you do it in the public, it still don't mean that the inventor won't disappear for lots of reasons.
Like Ming Lee.
The man threatening Eskridge mentioned Dr. Ning Lee, a prominent DoD physicist known for her research into superconductivity and anti-gravity. She was involved in a severe 2014 car accident that gave her brain damage and ended her career. No wonder Eskridge stated clearly, unequivocally, that she was not planning on taking her life. Under no circumstances would she ever take her own life. That if she was found dead, they killed her. And in 2022, she was gone. Officially, the story ends there. But in reality, that's exactly where it begins. Some discoveries don't fail, they disappear. Not because they don't work, but because they do. And if they saw the light of day, the whole world would change. And that's the risk the elite are killing people to avoid. Once you look at the full timeline of Amy Eskridge's death, the official narrative doesn't just crumble, it becomes laughably impossible to believe. A scientist working on unconventional physics and exotic technology. A stated intention to bring it into the open. A last-minute shutdown by NASA. A promised publication that never arrives as expected. And a life that's snuffed out before any of it is fully explained. And when you place it next to earlier cases, including figures like Tesla, the question becomes impossible to ignore. How many times does this exact sequence have to repeat before the public stop accepting the official narrative? Investigative journalist Daniel List joined Alex Jones to discuss the spate of scientist deaths, including Amy Eskridge. He says the X-Protect Group, a deep state organization established in 1946, the same year the CIA was founded, is behind the assassinations and disappearances of scientists connected to gravity control and alien tech. And he's got receipts.
This is the kind of thing that could completely plummet stock markets, and literally take us into an entirely different paradigm. There's no way that the public at large would be allowed to have access to any of this. We're still talking about taking Iran's oil. Well, that's way, how dinosaur and backward is that? They have technology that will completely throw that out the window, and this is the nature of the problem.
And Trump orders a real investigation, so he sends out investigators, and then all the key people die. It's pretty obvious.
There's no question about it. And I will say that, Trump going on the record right there in February and saying we're going to release all of these records pertaining to the UFO file was gigantic. It was huge, and we saw it was interfered with by Obama. So we know that something strange was going on the inside. And then in the background there, you had a number of people who were silently being moved off the stage and eliminated. And, it's interesting with the disappearance of
Do you remember over a year ago
McCaslin,
predicting we'd see a bunch of killings? How'd you do that? How'd you know that?
I literally was looking at the pattern, and I put it on the record because I saw the missing scientist was already a pattern that was happening.
And you're not normally dramatic. You're like on the show saying, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of killing of scientists.
No question about it. And I don't want to be sensationalist with any of the material because I know you're dealing with human lives, but I've also seen how this works directly. We're talking about DoD billionaires hanging out in the background, hardware manufacturers, defense contractors, And if you have that stroke of history, when you look across it, you can see presidents warning about this through generations from Eisenhower, Reagan, and others.
The truth is, the global elite, working hand in hand with their enforcers inside NASA, the Department of Energy, and certain three-letter agencies, have been ruthlessly guarding free energy technology for over a century. This isn't science fiction. Free energy has been invented, demonstrated, and is ready to give humanity unlimited clean power for next to nothing. And every single time a brilliant mind steps forward to liberate it or alert the public, they end up dead. Heart attacks at 40, sudden suicides, mysterious car accidents, disappearances without a trace. Ready for Amy Eskridge's final clip? In this footage, she claims anti-gravity wasn't just theoretical, it has already been discovered 4 times. And each time, it was shut down by the government before it could reach the public. Think about that for a second. Something far more efficient really exists. A technology that could break dependence on fuel debt and centralized control. But the powers that be want to keep us enslaved in the prison they've constructed for us. Then Eskridge says she was getting close to revealing it herself before being warned, in no uncertain terms, what would happen if she went through with it.
It's been independently discovered 4 other times. He said it has been suppressed every single fucking time. And he said, I don't think they're going to suppress it this time. He said, I think you're in the clear. He said, they obviously know about you because I've had multiple, both protective and threatening interactions with various agency affiliations, whatever. He was like, if you haven't had a US government agent come to you and say, stop, shut the fuck up, stop, shut the fuck up. If that hasn't happened, they're going to let you do it. They're waiting. There are SSP motherfuckers that are fucking twiddling their thumbs. Like, is Amy not going to publish soon? Gah, we've been influencing this bitch forever. Doesn't she know we want her to publish? Jesus. Like, there's multiple people doing that right now. And on the other side of the fence, there's multiple parties looking at each other like, didn't we tell this bitch 3 years ago that we kill people for this? Is she not listening? What is she doing? She's still doing it? What? We told her we were going to kill her 3 years ago. So I have these two different scenarios floating constantly in my life where I have people being like, do it, do it, do it. You're the one, do it. And then I have multiple people being like, they're going to kill you. Don't do it. They're going to kill you.
Some things don't change. Nikola Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island, New York, was demolished by the US government on July the 4th, 1917, after it became known that he planned to give the world free energy. Tesla was censored through government-controlled newspapers. He was one of the most important inventors of all time, yet he was censored through government-controlled media and never mentioned in schools, all because the government wanted to prevent further research into free energy.
You want to hear something really fascinating?
Sure.
You've got Tesla, who gets funded by JP Morgan to create wireless technology, but Tesla gets a little ambitious and says, I'm going to do wireless communication, but I'm going to take your $150,000. I'm going to do wireless energy, and we'll do free energy around the world. And Morgan's like, how do you put a meter on that? Tesla's like, what do you mean? This propel mankind forward. Morgan pulls his funding, tells everyone in the investment class, this guy's a kook, and if you invest with him, you don't do business with me. A few years later, Wardenclyffe Tower gets torn down, Tesla dies in poverty. And where are those 20 boxes? And why was the government so quick to respond to that crime scene?
Yeah, they showed up at that guy's house quick.
Uncle John Trump there was in charge of that.
Donald Trump's uncle reviewed Tesla's death ray secrets and found mysterious royal letters.
Red alert! If you're digging into dangerous topics online like this one, you need real protection. The big VPNs you trusted, ExpressVPN, CyberGuard's private internet access and others, are now owned by one Tel Aviv-based company. Many of their key people come from Israel's Unit 8200 Cyber Intelligence and Dovden Special Forces. That's why VP.net was built last year. It's not another trust us VPN, it's zero trust by design. Zero knowledge cryptography, Intel SGX secure enclaves, and fully open source code. Even if they wanted to or were forced to, they literally cannot see or log your activity. No backdoors, no compromises, privacy guaranteed by math, not promises. Check it out at vp.net/TPV. Stop trusting, start protecting. This is how you take back control.